What do you know about the murder of Ashley Dale?
Please, if there's anyone here, make yourself known!
Oh, hello, Mr. Niall.
Do you know he was shot and killed?
Betrayal, murder, and fatal mistakes. These clips, taken from a body camera belonging to Merseyside Police in the UK, were recorded just minutes after 28-year-old Ashley Dale was fatally shot in her home. She was targeted partially by mistake, as she wasn't the intended target at all. In fact, the real target wasn't even present at the scene. But as investigators began to dig deeper into this case, they uncovered a dark and infuriating story. Who was Ashley Dale? How did she end up a tragic, innocent victim in a case filled with monsters? What events led to her death? Our horrific story begins today in the Old Swan neighborhood in the city of Liverpool, UK, located several miles east of the city centre. At exactly 12:41 a.m. on August 21, 2022, an emergency call was made to emergency services after what sounded like a war zone was heard. A neighbor had called to report a woman lying motionless in her backyard. Police rushed to the scene, and what they found was a horrifying sight. The house was eerily quiet, but the front door had been clearly forced open, a strong indication that something sinister had occurred inside. The back door, leading to the garden, was wide open. When officers carefully entered the garden, they were shocked to see the body of a young woman lying lifeless on the patio, covered in blood. She was lying in an unnatural position, as if she had collapsed during a desperate attempt to escape or call for help. Her phone was just a few feet away, as if it had fallen from her hand in her final moments. What shocked investigators the most was the clear evidence of violence. After examining the body, they discovered that her blood had seeped into the ground beneath her. They quickly realized why. Several bullet casings were found inside the house. This night was shocking for Liverpool police, as gun crimes are rare in the UK. The murder of a young woman inside her home in a hail of bullets was absolutely terrifying. While investigators continued processing the crime scene, more officers arrived. As their numbers grew, the neighborhood gradually woke up to the sound of tragedy. Local residents reported hearing gunshots coming from the house, while others mentioned hearing the sound of tires screeching as a car sped away from the scene. Some also reported hearing a car alarm going off hours earlier. Whatever happened, the brutality of the break-in, the finality of her death, and the chaos surrounding the crime were enough to shake the entire community. Naturally, it didn't take long before neighbors helped the officers identify the victim. Tragically, it was confirmed that she was 28-year-old Ashley Dale. But this only raised more questions than answers. Why was Ashley targeted? Did she have enemies? Who were the men who killed her? These weren't just logical questions. Some of the answers were nothing like anyone expected. That's because Ashley wasn't the intended target at all. She was just collateral damage. But before we continue with this chilling story, let's first take a look at Ashley Dale's life before this tragedy. Ashley Dale was born to parents Julie and Stephen and was part of a close-knit family of 5 living in Liverpool. As the eldest of 3 children, it was natural for her to take on the role of protector. She not only looked after her parents, but also kept a close eye on her younger brother and sister. This protective nature only deepened after a tragic loss in 2015, when her younger brother, Lewis, was shot and killed at just 16 years old, mistakenly targeted by a rival gang. His murder left an indelible mark on Ashley and shaped much of how she viewed the world. Despite the deep trauma of losing her brother to violence, Ashley tried to move forward with her life. She channeled her grief into her education and completed a university degree in environmental health. She later secured a job as an environmental health officer, a role in which she excelled. However, her personal life grew more complicated when she entered into a relationship with a man named Lee Harrison. Sadly, Harrison was closely tied to the criminal underworld. His connections to gangs raised many concerns within Ashley's family, especially after losing their son. Their worries were understandable, but unfortunately, Ashley refused to see the bigger picture. She believed that Harrison was changing for the better. But the truth was, Ashley's kind nature made her naive to his faults. Lee Harrison, also 28 and from Liverpool, was deeply involved in drug trafficking and gang activity. In his early years, Harrison had formed a close bond with Neil Berry, a known local drug dealer. Their friendship was strong, and they collaborated on many operations. But by 2018, their relationship began to deteriorate due to drugs, loyalty, and betrayal. That year, Neil was robbed, an attack carried out by a rival gang called the Hillsiders. Around £40,000 worth of cocaine hidden in his home was stolen. Neil suspected that Harrison, who had ties to the Hillsiders, had leaked information that led to the break-in. Harrison denied any involvement, but Neil had already made up his mind. His trust was broken. Tensions escalated, and by the end of the hour, the two were enemies. The feud led Harrison to officially join the Hillsiders. From that point on, war had begun. Then, in June 2022, an unexpected encounter reignited old tensions. Ashley was attending the Glastonbury Festival with Harrison when they ran into a member of Neil's gang. What followed was a violent altercation, all fueled by their long-standing feud. Although Neil didn't witness the fight himself, he was also at the festival. When he heard about what happened, he reportedly told his friends that the next time he saw Harrison, he'd put a knife in his back.
Everything you got on top there, right?
That's below the threshold. Oh, hello, Mr. Niall.
Yeah, that'll do.
That'll come in.
The following day, because of his threatening behavior, he was. The arrest of Neil and his friends and their search by the police, as shown in this footage, resulted in a knife being found in Neil's possession. But fortunately for Neil, his friend was willing to take the blame instead. Although the knife was discovered in the same bag that held Neil's passport, his friend James Witham claimed it was his, and thus James was detained on suspicion of carrying a weapon. Despite police intervention, tensions continued to fester in the shadows. Following the escalation at the festival, Ashley's life took a dramatic turn. Clearly, experiencing gang-related violence firsthand had filled her with fear and anxiety. In the days and weeks that followed, Ashley grew increasingly worried about Neil's physical threats, which weren't limited to the festival but also included a direct warning to Harrison that he would be paying a visit to their home soon. This terrifying threat clearly left a deep impact on Ashley. She confided her fears to her close friend, Mole. In one text message, she said, "I'm worried, Mole. I can't stop thinking that something bad is going to happen." As her fear grew, Ashley turned to several friends for reassurance. In another message, she expressed how unsettled she felt, writing, "I feel like someone is watching me all the time. I don't know if I can take this anymore." Her constant state of alert was severely affecting her mental health, and her messages to friends revealed just how deeply it was impacting her. Despite trying to calm herself, Ashley couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. In another message, she wrote, "I feel like a sitting duck, waiting for something bad to happen. I hear noises outside. I don't know if it's just my imagination or if someone is really out there." Unfortunately, her instincts were tragically correct. In the end, Ashley was a sitting duck, and the predator was standing just outside her door. The night of August 20th, 2022, began like any other. Ashley was preparing for a quiet evening with her dog, Darla, while Harrison was out with friends. That evening, Ashley shared a picture of herself and Darla on the couch. Tragically, she had no idea what was coming next. Later that evening, after sunset, a car alarm went off in the neighborhood. Being familiar with the sound, Ashley recognized it as her own car's alarm but dismissed it as a minor annoyance, possibly triggered by the rain, and continued her evening as usual. She even texted her friend saying, "The car alarm went off again, I think it's because of the rain." The message seemed casual, but her tone hinted at underlying tension. And it wasn't just a passing feeling. She later sent another message saying, "I don't know, I feel like someone's outside." As the night progressed, Ashley's fear deepened. Her car alarm went off once more, and she began to realize it wasn't just coincidence. She wrote to her friend, "I'm feeling really uneasy tonight. I don't like this feeling at all." Then, about an hour later, in the early hours of August 21st, the front doorbell rang. Ashley instantly recognized it as a bad omen. The sound echoed through the silent house, and then, without warning, the door was violently forced open. A gunman entered the house without hesitation and gave no one a chance to escape. In a split second, he opened fire. Ashley had no time to run or even comprehend what was happening. In a panic, she grabbed her phone and ran toward the back door, but it was already too late. She was fatally shot. Meanwhile, Darla hid in a corner of the house, terrified, as the intruders continued firing inside, hoping to find Harrison if he was hiding there. Ashley spent her final moments in terror, injured and without hope of survival. The last messages she sent just moments before the attack were chilling evidence of her accurate instincts about the danger approaching her.
Please, if there's anyone here, make yourself known!
Officers with taser.
Back door's open.
Is it?
Yeah.
Chris, you got taser on to leave me. I'm gonna walk through. Unfortunately, I'm not my refresher.
Back door is open.
Right. Please. Go check the back. What's the report? Get down your back.
That last patrol on the road, I know.
When the police arrived, they were faced with a horrifying scene. Ashley Dale had been murdered in cold blood. Investigators quickly discovered that all 4 tires of her car had been slashed deliberately, which was what had triggered the alarm in the first place. It was a sinister plan designed to lure Ashley and Harrison out of the house. When her family saw her final messages, they were overwhelmed by both sorrow and anger. They realized that Ashley's instincts had been right all along. As the saying goes, always trust your gut, it's rarely wrong. Fortunately, Ashley had unknowingly left behind the clues to solve her own murder. Her text messages contained all the information police needed to crack the case. They just had to piece the evidence together. However, the investigation didn't go smoothly. One of the biggest challenges was the behavior of her boyfriend, Harrison, who happened to be absent from the house during the attack. Notably, Harrison was extremely uncooperative with police. He refused to make any statements and remained silent during interrogations, stalling the early phases of the investigation. Worse still, he refused to help identify suspects and completely distanced himself from the case. He even changed his phone number and cut ties with Ashley's family, leaving them to grieve alone. Naturally, his lack of compassion raised growing suspicions about his role in the crime, or at least what he might know. While everyone grieves differently, his actions were undeniably suspicious. As if that wasn't enough, Harrison decided to travel to Spain on vacation immediately after Ashley's murder. Of course, what better time to hit the beach than right after your partner is brutally killed? This decision made police wonder, was he trying to escape justice? But the detectives had no time to waste. While Harrison enjoyed his getaway, authorities focused on figuring out what really happened on that tragic night. On August 21, 2022, CCTV footage captured James Witham and Joseph Piers entering a store. After completing their purchase, they were seen getting into a gray Hyundai. The significance of this vehicle would later become clear, as other cameras spotted it near Ashley's home earlier that evening. Surveillance footage showed the vehicle in the Page Moss area, suggesting that the driver and passenger may have been scouting the location before the attack. Later that night, at around 11:30 p.m., both James and Joe were seen approaching Ashley's white car, which was parked outside her family home. They slashed her car tires, triggering the car alarm. Of course, this was part of their plan to lure either Harrison or Ashley out of the house. But despite their efforts, no one came out. This forced them to back off and come up with a new plan. Unfortunately, that alternative plan was far more horrific. The 2 men returned to the house an hour later. This time, one of them was armed with a Scorpion submachine gun. It was clear they were there for blood. After kicking the door in and storming the house, they found Ashley. She tried to flee toward the back door. As she reached the garden gate, James fired 8 bullets from his weapon, one of which struck her in the back. After seeing her collapse to the ground, he went upstairs and fired 5 more shots into an empty bedroom, perhaps as a warning or in an attempt to intimidate Harrison. Then he quickly turned around, ran down the stairs, and fled the scene with his accomplice. Fortunately, one of the neighbor's surveillance cameras had recorded the entire incident. After the attack, James and Joe fled the area and headed to a hotel in St. Helens to hide. But luck wasn't on their side. Detectives were able to track their movements. After receiving intelligence to watch for an Audi Q7, an officer spotted the vehicle, which led to their arrest.
Open the door. Alright lads, keep your hands where you can see him. Just keep your hands where you can see him, pal. Put you in some handcuffs. Yeah, what about that side? Just need to drive out that scene. Put you in handcuffs. What's your name, fella? Eh? Joseph. Arrest. In suspicion of murder. Okay. You don't have to say anything. You have defence. You don't mention one question. Some picture later on in court.
It's just in the car and me to ring me.
What's your name, fella? Say that again.
Francis Gary.
Gary. Gary Francis. Francis Gary. Gary. Whatever time was now.
You might now be wondering, what happened to Neil Berry, the key figure in planning the attack? Well, he was found at a local golf resort in Formby. Intelligence revealed that he was planning to flee the country. Police launched a coordinated operation to stop him before he could escape, and they succeeded. Shortly after that, the fourth suspect, Sean Zeiss, was also arrested for his involvement in Ashley's murder. With all four suspects in custody and formally charged, detectives were finally able to gather and organize the evidence. After several months, in October 2023, their trial finally began. James Witham, the man who fired the fatal shots, attempted to defend himself by claiming that he didn't intend to kill Ashley. He said he only wanted to fire at the house as a warning, and that he accidentally encountered Ashley and shot her, insisting her death wasn't premeditated. However, this claim was hard to accept in court, especially given the overwhelming amount of damning evidence: previous threats, messages, surveillance footage, and witness testimonies. When Ashley realized that two armed men had broken into her home, she screamed in terror and tried to run out the back door. This alone would have given James, armed with a Scorpion submachine gun, enough time to fully grasp what he was doing. Even though he heard her scream, he still fired 8 bullets in her direction, one of which hit her in the back. This confirmed that he deliberately shot her as she tried to escape. As expected, in November 2023, the 4 men were sentenced to a combined total of 173 years in prison for the murder of Ashley Dale. James Witham received a life sentence with a minimum of 43 years. Neil Berry was sentenced to life with a minimum of 47 years. Joseph Peers received life with a minimum of 41 years. Sean Zeiss was given life with a minimum of 42 years. Undoubtedly, the sentencing of Ashley's killers was a moment of mixed emotions for her family. While legal justice had finally been served, nothing could bring back their beloved daughter. Ashley's tragic death left her family drowning in grief and sorrow. Her mother described the loss as a life-altering event, one that changed her entire world forever. Do you believe justice was truly served in the case of Ashley Dale? Share your thoughts in the comments. Was the sentence enough, or does the wound run deeper than that?